No, this is simply impossible. The senior official's voice cut through the sterile air of the Finnish Ministry of Education office, his hand slamming down on the polished table. The Singapore model you're talking about, Minister, it's a fairy tale, a propaganda reel. The young education consultant tried to interject. But Minister, you saw the footage yourself. Enough. The official roared. I don't want to hear about any Singapore model. It's not real. The clamor of arguments swelled, unnoticed by the education minister, Elina, who stood silently by the door, a small audio recorder clutched in her hand, a resolute smile playing on her lips. This fierce debate, the very one threatening to derail her vision, had its roots in the moment Elina's plane touched down at Changi Airport. Through the window, the sprawling, hyper-modern terminal had already given her pause. In Europe, especially in a place like Finland, there was this quiet assumption, almost an unspoken truth, that outside of Japan, maybe Korea, the rest of Asia was, well, a bit rough around the edges, definitely not cutting edge. But Changi wasn't just modern. It was breathtakingly efficient, pristine, a marvel that immediately unsettled her comfortable prejudices. Stepping out, she was met by Mr. Tan, a Singaporean MOE official, who pulled up in a sleek electric car. The roads were orderly, signs crystal clear, infrastructure that felt even more advanced than Helsinki's. A prickle of discomfort started to bloom. This wasn't the developing nation she'd mentally prepared for. Good afternoon, Minister. Mr. Tan greeted in impeccable English. For your visit, we've arranged for you to see a few schools, including some of our top ones in the city, and also Evergreen Primary in Jurong West. Jurong West? Elina frowned. Why an outlying estate? I thought I'd be seeing your best. Mr. Tan chuckled softly. Minister, to truly understand a nation's education, you don't look at its best schools, you look at its most ordinary ones. And who knows, you might just find a surprise or two out there. His words hung in the air, stirring a deeper curiosity. In Finland, while rural schools were decent, resources were finite, and she couldn't fathom what a school in what she perceived as a lesser part of this small island could possibly offer. The first day was a blur of impressive visits to star schools in the central areas. State-of-the-art smart classrooms, digital learning hubs, fully equipped science labs, everything you could want, and more. But Elina knew, deep down, that these were the showpieces, the well-funded beacons of a thriving city-state. The real test, the uncomfortable truth about equity, would come the next day at Evergreen Primary. Early the next morning, they embarked on their journey. Singapore doesn't have high-speed rail that dissects vast landscapes like Europe, but the public transport was an undeniable testament to efficiency. The MRT ride to Jurong East was smooth, the carriages spotless, the commuters quiet and respectful. No loud conversations, no litter. She watched the urban landscape give way to slightly older, more established housing estates. And even here, the roads were well maintained, streetlights evenly spaced, buildings tidy, if not flashy. It was nothing like the image of neglected peripheries she'd held. That's Evergreen Primary ahead. The driver pointed to a modest but well-kept building. A banner proclaiming "Welcome Finnish Education Minister Elina" hung at the entrance, and a handful of students in neat uniforms stood waiting. MDM. Lim, the principal, a woman in her late 50s with kind eyes and calloused hands, warmly greeted them. "Welcome to our school, Minister. I'm Madiem. Lim." Her handshake was firm, revealing a lifetime of practical work. "How many students do you have, Madiem?" "Lim?" Elina asked. "Only 83, she replied candidly. "We're in an older estate. So many younger families have moved to newer towns. Most of our children here are raised by their grandparents." Elina nodded. Similar situations existed in Finland's declining rural areas, but the sense of deprivation she expected simply wasn't there. The school, though small, was meticulously planned. The basketball courts and playground equipment were well maintained, the classrooms brightly painted, windows sparkling. And to her utter astonishment, there was a fully equipped computer lab and a library. "Even though we're a heartland school, we have all the necessary facilities," MDM. Lim explained, as if reading Elina's mind. "Our government ensures education, resources are allocated fairly. Our location doesn't mean we get less attention." This hit Elina hard. In Europe, despite advanced educational philosophies, the resource gap between urban and remote areas was a persistent challenge. How could such a small island nation achieve this level of resource parity? They proceeded to observe a math class. Around 15 students sat at their desks, each with a tablet. "We're implementing digital learning," MDM, Lim whispered. "Every student, even here, has access to a tablet and online learning resources. Elina watched. The teaching style was familiar, surprisingly similar to Finland's. Not rote memorization, but guided inquiry, group discussions, student presentations. "This model is excellent," Elina remarked to Mr. Tan. "Very close to our philosophy in Finland." Mr. Tan simply smiled. Singapore has been through many education reforms, learning from countries like Finland, but always adapting it to our unique context. When the bell rang, the children, despite their simple attire, exuded happiness. "Would you like to speak to them, Minister?" "MDM," Lim offered. Elina gladly agreed. On the basketball court, a boy, wide-eyed, asked, "Finland? Is that the country with very good education?" Elina smiled. "You know about Finland?" "Of course, he exclaimed. "Our teacher says Finland focuses on individual development, not much homework, unlike us, a bit tough sometimes." Elina was taken aback. A student from an outlying estate, aware of global education trends, it spoke volumes about the teacher's efforts to broaden their horizons. "What do you think of your school?" she pressed. "Quite good, the boy mused. "Even though it's small, the teachers are very kind, and we have all the things we need. Plus, small classes mean teachers can look after everyone." They listed their subjects: English, math, science, art, music, computer. "Oh, and we have farm experience classes. We go to the fields to grow vegetables." "Farm experience?" Elina asked, intrigued. "MDM," Lim explained. "We have a small plot behind the school. It teaches them where food comes from, and to care for the environment." It was a grounded, practical approach that, despite Finland's progressive ideals, was less common in her own system. When asked about their dreams, one boy declared, "I want to be an engineer, design cool robots." A girl chimed in, "I want to be a teacher, like MDM." Lim, the principal's smile was tinged with pride. These children, from an unglamorous part of Singapore, had global awareness and boundless aspirations. Lunch was next. A small but cozy canteen, posters on nutrition, neat tables. "We provide free lunches, MDM," Lim said. "Government subsidies ensure every child gets a balanced meal." Elina watched as students queued orderly, their plates filled with rice, vegetables, tofu, chicken, soup, and fruit. It wasn't extravagant, but it was wholesome. They ate quietly, without waste, and afterward, responsibly cleared their trays and wiped their tables. "How do you teach them these habits?" Elina asked, genuinely impressed. "From primary 1, we instill life skills and etiquette, MDM," Lim replied. "Beyond academics, character development is vital. We want to nurture grateful, responsible children." This was an uncomfortable truth for many systems, focused purely on academic metrics. After lunch, they toured the library, modest but well-stocked, and the computer lab, with 20 working PCs. The music room held pianos and traditional instruments. "Are these all government-provided?" Elina asked. "Mostly MDM," Lim said, "but some are from community donations. Singaporeans value education deeply. Even schools like ours receive support from companies and individuals." Returning to the principal's Spartan office, a simple desk, a few chairs, a bookshelf filled with education journals and student-made cards. Elina learned MDM. Lim had been at Evergreen for almost 20 years, having grown up in the area and returned after university. "You never thought of moving to a city school?" "Better conditions, surely?" Elina inquired. "MDM." Lim just smiled. "I had opportunities, but I chose to stay. These children need good teachers. If we all leave, what happens to them? And honestly, it's meaningful work here." Elina felt a jolt. Finding such long-term dedication, particularly in less resourced areas, was a struggle even in Finland. This principle embodied a sense of mission that resonated deeply. "What's the biggest challenge facing education in these areas?" Elina asked. "DM." Lim paused. "Student retention mostly. Parents move to the city for their children's education. But recent government initiatives, like the Outlying Schools Enhancement Plan, have helped us receive more resources and support. These included digital learning devices for every student, remote learning systems for specialist subjects, and incentives for good teachers to serve in these schools." Elina meticulously took notes. Singapore's approach to bridging the urban-rural gap was remarkably effective. "And the results?" Elina pressed. "Do these measures truly improve student performance?" MDM. Lim pulled out a thick binder. "This is our school's performance data for the past 5 years. Our students' national exam results are almost on par with city schools. Some have even entered top secondary schools. Alina flipped through the data. The academic scores were indeed respectable, but what truly struck her were the high ratings for student attitude and character development. "This is truly remarkable," she said, genuinely impressed. "To achieve such results with limited resources might not match the big schools, MDM," Lim conceded. "But we have more time and energy to focus on each child. The benefit of small class sizes is knowing every student and teaching to their individual needs." Just then, a young teacher poked her head in. "Midem, Lim, the afternoon English class is ready. The foreign teacher is online." "Foreign teacher?" Alina asked. "Yes, Midem," Lim explained. "We partner with native English-speaking teachers in the city. Twice a week, students connect via video conference. It's excellent for their English proficiency." Alina went to observe. On the large screen, a blonde, blue-eyed teacher enthusiastically greeted the students. The children, though shy, bravely responded in English. The lesson was about introducing their hometowns. Alina watched as the teacher patiently corrected pronunciations, encouraging every child to speak. "This teaching model is so innovative," Alina told Mr. Tan. "It solves the resource gap and gives students international exposure." Mr. Tan nodded. "It's a key focus for us. Singapore is small, but we want every child to have equal educational opportunities, no matter where they live." As the English class ended, nearing 3 p.m. MDM, Lim invited them to see the school's small farm plot behind the building. Several students, guided by a teacher, were watering vegetables, weeding, and recording growth. "This is our farm experience class, MDM," Lim explained. "Some of what they grow goes into our school lunches. Some they take home. Cabbages, bok choy, radishes, all thriving." The students worked with practiced ease. "Teacher, is this cabbage ready?" a girl asked, pointing to a robust head. The teacher knelt, examined it. "Almost. We can harvest next week. Our nutritionist will help us make spring rolls." The girl beamed. "This is such a wonderful program," Alina mused. "Children today are so disconnected from the land. Many city kids don't even know how vegetables grow." "Exactly, MDM," Lim agreed. "Experiential learning is so important. Besides the farm, we take them to visit nearby factories, to understand different industries. We may be in an outlying area, but we can't let our children's horizons shrink." As the sun began to set, Alina stood in the schoolyard, watching the students leave, a profound emotion stirring within her. This unassuming primary school, without grand buildings or cutting-edge tech, possessed dedicated teachers, joyful students, and a robust educational framework that truly nurtured. This, she realized, was the true essence of education. On the drive back, Alina was lost in thought, the past few days in Singapore shattering her preconceptions. The Singaporean education system had many strengths, particularly in equitable resource distribution, support for outlying schools, and digital learning. "Mr. Tan," Alina asked suddenly, "how does Singapore manage to provide such good resources to schools in all areas? In many countries, including Finland, the urban-rural divide is a persistent problem." Mr. Tan pondered. "It's the result of long-term effort. Firstly, education funding is a top priority. The government invests heavily every year. Secondly, we have a comprehensive resource allocation mechanism to ensure sufficient support for every school. For instance, teachers in these areas receive additional allowances to attract talent, and digital learning ensures all students have access to quality online resources. But this requires massive financial investment," Alina noted. "Indeed," Mr. Tan affirmed, "but we see it as a worthwhile investment. Education is the foundation of a nation. If we're unwilling to invest in that, what else is worth investing in? In the long run, the returns on education investment are the highest." His words resonated deeply. Finland, for all its educational prowess, might still have areas where it could do better. Back in Singapore City, Alina visited other schools, vocational, special education, and one catering to specific community needs. Each offered unique insights, but the evergreen primary experience remained the most impactful. On her last day, the Ministry of Education hosted a symposium with officials, principals, teachers, and academics. "Minister Alina, what are your observations about Singapore's education system?" an academic asked. Alina gathered her thoughts. "From what I've seen, Singaporean education has several distinct features. First, a strong emphasis on equity, striving to narrow the gaps. Second, while maintaining traditional strengths, you actively integrate advanced international concepts. Third, a focus on holistic development, not just knowledge, but character and life skills. And fourth, leveraging technology to drive innovation. She paused, then continued. But what moved me most was the dedication and sense of mission among your educators. Teachers like MDM, Lim, willing to commit 20 years to an outlying school. That spirit is truly remarkable. These characteristics are indeed our long-term goals, the permanent secretary replied. Singapore's education reforms have had their challenges and debates, but we've always sought the model best suited for us. We've learned from Finland, Japan, other countries, but we don't blindly copy. We adapt. That's crucial, Elena agreed. There's no one-size-fits-all model. Every nation must find its own path, based on its culture and societal needs. The symposium lasted 3 hours, a lively exchange. Elena took detailed notes, already planning how to push for reforms back home. She couldn't have known the resistance she would face. Which brings us back to the argument in the office, the very scene that opened this story. When Elena presented some of Singapore's educational practices, senior officials immediately pushed back. Minister, Singapore and Finland are completely different. The table-slamming official argued. They're an Asian country, focused on rote learning, entirely unlike our philosophy. But I saw firsthand that their educational philosophy is very similar to ours, and in some areas, even better, Elena insisted. That's just surface level, another official dismissed. You were only there for a few days. How can you understand the whole picture? They probably staged it for you. The schools I visited, including Evergreen Primary, were chosen for me to see ordinary examples, Elena countered. And I had in-depth conversations with teachers, students, and parents. That wasn't an act. The arguments grew heated, ending in a stalemate. Back in her office, Elena looked at her audio recorder and the thick stack of observation notes. She wouldn't let this invaluable experience go to waste. She would find a way to drive change. The next day, she called a meeting with a few younger education consultants. I need you to compile a detailed report, she told them. Outline the strengths of Singapore's education system and what we can learn. It needs to be data-driven, not just rhetoric. The young consultants, eager to support their minister, immediately plunged into research, digging through Singapore's education statistics, policy documents, and academic papers, even reaching out to educators there online for deeper insights. 2 weeks later, an 80-page report was on Elena's desk, meticulously analyzing Singapore's educational framework, its successes, and concrete measures Finland could adapt. Satisfied, Elena decided to hold a larger seminar, inviting stakeholders from across the country. The room was packed. MOE officials, MPs, principals, teacher representatives, parents, and journalists. Elena personally delivered the keynote, using countless photos and data to illustrate her findings from Singapore. When she played the video she'd filmed at Evergreen Primary, the room fell silent. On screen, mid-EM. Lim, with a genuine smile, led students in the school's small farm. Students conversed fluently in English with a foreign teacher, their eyes bright with curiosity. This is a school with just 83 students, Elena's voice filled the room. But they have excellent facilities, dedicated teachers, and happy, engaged students. I asked Mediem. Lim, what support they received. She told me, every student has a tablet, the school has remote learning systems, and teachers receive incentives. I asked if such investment was worth it. She said, education is a century-long endeavor. Every cent is well spent. Elena paused, sweeping her gaze across the room. Ladies and gentlemen, Finland's education system is indeed excellent, revered globally, but that doesn't mean we can afford to stand still. Singapore, though a small place, offers valuable lessons in educational equity, digital learning, and supporting schools in outlying areas. We are not to copy their model blindly, but to extract its essence, adapt it to our context, and make Finland's education even better. A wave of applause erupted. Some of the original naysayers now had softened expressions. During the discussion, attitudes were noticeably more receptive. Minister, a principal asked, you mentioned Singapore's investment in outlying schools. What specific measures can we emulate? Elena opened her notes. Firstly, the widespread provision of digital learning devices. The Singaporean government ensures every student, urban or outlying, has access to tablets and online resources. Secondly, the remote learning system, connecting outlying schools to high-quality teaching. Thirdly, the teacher incentive system, encouraging excellent educators to serve in less central areas. These are all measures we can consider. But this requires significant funding, someone countered. Yes, it does, Elena admitted. But we can implement it in phases. Start with a few pilot schools in less central regions. Observe the results, then gradually expand. And in the long run, these investments are invaluable. If we can narrow the educational gap and provide every child with equal opportunities, it benefits our entire nation. The seminar lasted a full day, culminating in a consensus. Not everyone fully agreed with Elena, but at the very least, they were willing to give reform a chance. Over the next few months, the Finnish Ministry of Education launched a pilot program, selecting 5 schools in less central areas to introduce digital learning devices and remote teaching systems. Elena personally oversaw the implementation. A year later, the pilot schools report showed significant improvements in student engagement and academic performance, and teacher job satisfaction also rose. More importantly, parents were overwhelmingly positive. Some families who had planned to move to the city decided to stay. This report became Elena's key leverage. She submitted a proposal to Parliament, requesting an increased education budget to expand the pilot program nationwide. After several rounds of debate, the proposal passed. 2 years later, Finland's outlying education landscape had transformed. Elena received a letter from MDM Lim, expressing her honor that Finland had drawn inspiration from Singapore and inviting Elena to revisit Evergreen Primary. Elena smiled, remembering her trip 2 years ago. MDM Lim's resolute eyes, the children's innocent smiles. That journey hadn't just shown her the strengths of Singaporean education, it had made her rethink the very nature of education itself. Education isn't a competition, not about who has the most advanced system or the grandest philosophy. At its heart, education is about giving every child the opportunity to realize their potential, no matter where they live or what their background. That is true educational equity, and the goal every educator should strive for. The office phone rang. Her secretary informed her of an upcoming press conference on education reform. Elena stood, tidied her papers, and walked out of her office with a determined stride. And as the Helsinki sun streamed through her office window, a new day, a new path, stretched out before her, the quiet echoes of a small island's unwavering belief in its children still resonating in her heart.